Greetings, Patriots. We are now going to work on Lesson 8.3.6, Unit 3, Lesson 6, where we're looking at variables on both sides. Your focus is to read a problem, come up with the expressions on both sides, and then solve the equation. So please make sure you take time to organize yourself. There's guided notes that go along with this lesson, so you can either print those or write your examples as you need to on your notebook. On my calculator, the objective is that you're going to write and solve equations with variables on both sides given a real life situation. There we go. So let's look at the following problem. On Saturday, you bowl at Mar Vista Bowl, and renting shoes costs $2, and each game bowled is $3.50. On Sunday, you bowl at Pins Bowl, and the shoe rental is $5, and each game bowled is $3.25. So if you spent, if you spent the same amount each day, how many games were bowled? So they're looking for the number of games that you were bowled where you spent the same amount of money at each location. So since games is what I'm looking for, I can either use the variable g or the variable x, right? Since that's my unknown. So wherever I see the word games, right, I need to focus on that to help me write my expression. So here I know at Mar Vista Bowl, it was $2 just for the shoes. But each game that was bowled was $3.50 each. So if I bowled one game, it was $3.50. If I bowled two games, it was another $3.50. So this tells me that at Mar Vista, it's $2 flat rate for renting shoes, and then $3.50 per game. Or you could use the letter G. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's still what we are looking for, our variable. At Pins Bowl, it was $5 to actually rent your shoes, and then each game there costs $3.25. So per game, I'm multiplying every game $3.25 at Pins Bowl. So I have my two expressions. So they want to know how many games I bowled, where it will give me the amount I spent, and I know I had to have spent the same amount each day that I bowled there. So let's go ahead and set this up and solve our equation. So 2 plus $3.50 times x equals 5 plus $3.25 times the number of games bowled. So remember, our first step is to move our variables over to one side. It doesn't really matter. Miss King just likes to always start with the smaller amount. So $3.25, right? I'm going to move over to the left-hand side because those are my like terms. So if it's positive, I'm going to make it a negative. Remember our inverse operations when we were reviewing on one and two-step equations? So what I do to one side, I do to the other side. Make sure you keep those together. That gives me my zero pair, and this leaves me with 2 plus 25 cents x, and you can use your Desmos calculator for your calculations, equals 5. So now that I moved all the variables over, I need to move all my numbers to one side, right? So this 2 is a like term with that constant on the other side. So positive 2 means I have to do the inverse of that and subtract 2 on both sides. Since I'm dealing with an equation, there's my zero pairs. And 0.25x equals 5 take away 2, which is 3. So my final step now to undo multiplying, right, 0.25 times x times the number of games, I'm going to do the inverse of that, and I'm going to divide by 0.25 on both sides. I ran out of place there. When I divide 3 divided by 0.25, and I use my calculator, I'm going to get that x equals 12. So sorry, it was a little hard to write that. So this says that at 12 games, it's going to cost the same. It will cost the same at Mar Vista Bowl and Pins Bowl after bowling 12 games. Well, you know what? I always like to check my solution. So what Miss King is going to do is Miss King is going to grab her calculator and say, okay, let me see if this is right. 2 plus 3.50 times 12 games. Well, when I type that into my calculator, it gives me $44. So that means at Mar Vista, when I build 12 games, it costs $44. Well, if my solution of 12 is correct, it must be the exact same thing on the other side. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 5 plus 3.25 times 12 games. And, well, what do you know? I get also $44. So after 12 games, right, at both places, we would have paid $44 regardless of where we were at. That is the amount that I spend after 12 games. It was the same amount. Okay, let's go ahead and next problem. Here I have a container that has 200 liters of water. It's being filled up, right? So that means I'm filling it up. You can see the picture that I gave you there at a rate of 6 liters per minute. Then I have another container that's starting at 500 liters of water, but it's being drained. So I'm losing water, right, at 6 liters per minute. So after how many minutes, so there's my variable, right, M or X if you want to call it, will it take for the two containers to have the exact same amount of water? All right, so let's write our expression for container A. I know that I'm starting with 200 liters of water, and since I'm filling that up, I am adding water at 6 liters per minute. And you know what? I'm just going to show that I can use M or X. It doesn't matter. Then I'm going to go to container B. In container B, I'm starting with 500 liters of water in it, but this one is being drained. So that means I'm subtracting that at 6 liters per minute. Okay? So we want to know what it will be, right? And I'm going to pick this up so I have some room. After how many minutes will they have the same amount of water? Okay? So here we go. Let's go ahead and set our equations equal to each other. Remember, we're going to move all our variables to one side, and Miss King likes to always move the smaller one. All right, so minus 6m smaller than positive 6m, so I'm going to move that variable over. It's minus, so I'm going to make it positive, right? Because I'm undoing what's already there. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other side because I'm dealing with an equation, that equality. So therefore, that 0 pair is formed, and I end up with 206 plus 6. You can enter that in your calculator if you need. Plus 12 times m number of minutes is equal to 500. So now that I have my variables on one side, I need to now take and move my constant, my numbers. 200 needs to be moved over to the other side. Got to keep everything balanced. So therefore, if it's positive, I need to form my 0 pair. Minus 200, and what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. That gives me 0 pairs. So 12m equals 500 minus 200 is 300. Well, again, now I'm going to use my inverse. I already dealt with my adding and subtracting to move everything to one side. And now I have to undo this. So 12 times a number equals 300. Well, the inverse of multiply is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. And when I take 300 and I divide that by 12, that gives me the number of minutes. And if you type that in there, you'll get 25 minutes. So this says that after 25 minutes, container A and B will have the same amount of water. That's what that says. It's going to have the same amount of water. And you know Miss King, she's going to want to go check her solution. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to go type that into my calculator. I'm going to say, okay, 200 plus 6 times 25. Let's see what I get for container A. And when I multiply that and add 200, I get 350 liters. So I'm going to do the same thing for container B. Type it in your calculator. 500 minus 6 times 25 minutes. And what do you get? 350 liters. So it says after 25 minutes, container A and container B will actually have the same amount. And what is that amount? 350 liters of water. So it's so important that you don't forget to go back and check that solution, because that solution, that 25, means something in this problem, right? Okay, now I want you to try. I want you to read this problem. I'm looking at UPS and at FedEx. I want to see if you can set up your expressions, right? After how many pounds will it take for them to cost the exact same? And I want you to solve it and write what that actual solution means in the situation. So it's very important, right, that you read and set up. This is a good time for you to stop and try and then come back and check your solution. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and look at UPS. Well, I know that UPS is charging me $7 for the first pound of anything that I'm going to mail, or right? But they're charging 20 cents for each additional pound. Okay. And FedEx here is charging me $5 for the first pound and 30 cents for each additional pound. So they want to know after how many pounds, right, will it take for UPS and FedEx to actually cost the same. So I know the first pound is a flat rate. So therefore, I see these additional pounds, right? And there is my rate of those additional pounds. So for UPS, I'm going to go ahead and write my expression. I know it's $7 for the flat rate, and then it's going to be 20 cents for each additional pound. Or you can use X if you prefer. And then when I look at FedEx, it's $5 for the first pound, but then 30 cents for every additional pound. So I need to see after how many pounds will it cost the same, depending on what I'm going to mail, right? It may not matter based on the information I find, whether I go with UPS or FedEx. So we have our expressions. Let's set are those both equal to each other? Equals 5 plus 0.30 times P. Okay, here we go. So we are going to solve the following. Once again, I need all of my variables on one side. So 0.20p and 0.30p go together. They are like terms. Miss King likes to start with a smaller one, so this is positive 0.20. And I'm going to do the inverse in order to move that. So I'm going to subtract 0.20p from both sides. Notice I keep it with its like terms. This leaves me with 7 equals 5 plus 0.30, right? Plus, minus 0.20. So it's 0.30 minus 0.20 leaves me with 10 cents. Please make sure you use your calculator and don't forget that decimal. It's 30 cents minus 20 cents, okay? All right, so with that being said, I now have to move my constants, right? So I need to move my 5 over because I want my variables by themselves on one side. So therefore, that's what I'm going to do. It's a positive 5. I need to do the opposite of that in order to move it over. That gives me 0 pair. 7 take away 5 is 2. And 2 equals 0.10 cents times the number of pounds that I'm looking for. Okay, so my final step is to do the inverse of multiplication. So I'm going to need to divide in order to get P by itself. And in my calculator, I'm going to take 2 and divide it by 10 cents, right? And what I do to one side, I do to the other. As soon as I do that, that gives me that after 20 pounds, right? When you type that in at 20 pounds, the cost is going to be the same. So that just tells me that if I have a 20-pound package, it doesn't matter if I go to FedEx or UPS because everything's going to cost the same. So after 20 pounds, UPS and FedEx will cost the same. And now I'm going to put that word that they're going to cost the same, but now I want to know what they're going to cost. So that 20 cents, Miss King, is going to go here and actually, right? Oops, I don't know what I just did. I apologize. I did something wrong. Oops, oops, oops. Okay, sorry. I'm not going to start over, but it's going to cost the same. So let me go ahead and type this in my calculator. 7 plus 0.20 times 20. When I type that into my calculator, I get $11. Okay? I'm going to test that 20 cents at 20 pounds again. 5 plus 30 cents times 20 pounds. And when I type that into my calculator, I also get $11. So since I got the same cost on both sides, I know that this solution is correct. It will cost $11. After 20 pounds, a 20-pound package, UPS and FedEx will charge me $11. Okay. All right, Patriots. One more. Okay. Again, you stop. If you need to, please try to work this on your own so that way you get additional practice and then you can check your answers. So Pedro here opened up an account. Okay. And he had $710 and then he withdrew. Keep that in mind. He's taking money out. $35 per week. Okay. Then I have Maria who opened her account with $570 and withdrew $25 every single week. Okay. So keep that. That means I am taking money out. So I just want to make sure that you understand what that word. I'm not making a deposit. I'm actually taking it, or I'm spending money, right? Every week for whatever reason. So let's go look at Pedro. Pedro is $710, but because he withdrew at $35 per week. Because we want to know after how many weeks will their counts be equal. Maria, on the other hand, she started with $570 and she also withdrew, but she was withdrawing $25 every week. I used X, I could use W, it doesn't matter. All right, so with that being said, let's go and solve exactly like what we've been doing. Set up your equation. We need to set them equal to each other because we want to know when their accounts will be equal after how many weeks. Once again, okay, I'm going to go ahead and always move my smaller value here. Negative 35 is less than negative 25. So I am going to move this 35, making it positive. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So when you guys in your calculator go in and type negative 25 plus 35, you're going to get plus 10x. I now have my variable on that side. My job is using my inverse operation to now make sure that I get all my numbers on the other side. So that's positive 570. I'm going to make it negative 570. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, keeping my balance. That forms 0 pairs, and I end up with 10x equals, when I type in my calculator, 710 minus 570, I get 140. And now I'm down to this one-step equation. So 10 times some number equals 140. Well, I can figure that out by dividing by my coefficient there, right? Dividing by 10 on both sides. And I know that x would equal 14 weeks. I'm looking for the number of weeks where the accounts will be the same. So I know that after 14 weeks, Pedro and Maria will have the same amount in their accounts. Well, you already know what Miss King's going to do. Go and substitute. Let's see what they're going to have in their accounts. 710 minus 35 times 14. When I type that in to my calculator, it says that Pedro here is going to have $220. Well, let's see if that's going to be the same thing for Maria. If I type 570 minus 25 times 14 after 14 weeks, guess what? I get $220. So therefore, my solution of 14 is correct. After 14 weeks, Pedro and Maria will have $220 in their accounts. And yes, it will be the exact same thing. How do we know? Because we just checked that in our calculator. It's important in this assignment that you set up and that you use your calculator to help you, all right, with the operations and the calculations. So your job is going to be to read the following situation and to attempt this problem on your own, where you write the equation, right? And you solve the equation like we just did. Have a wonderful day, Patriots.